Hi, friends. Host Eric here with his beloved darling Rachel, and together we're discussing today love killers. We've sourced this video topic from a Psychology Today article, which consulted with marriage expert John Gottman about the kind of behaviors he's seen in his marriage and counseling years that have fundamentally destroyed the love between two people or made a relationship unsustainable. These are also what one might call unhealthy behaviors. A lot of times we want to be normatively neutral and say it's always he said, she said, it's always shared responsibility. But in fact, some of these behaviors are simply bad, and if the party who is guilty of them needs to change. So let's see what the first of these things that Gottman talks about is.
One, criticism. So, what are some examples of what criticism is in a relationship?
Well, I mean, foremost, one might say that criticism in a long term romantic relationship plays a different role than it does in any other capacity. If you're at work, you expect to get some feedback from your boss or whatever if you screw up, maybe positive feedback if you do well. But the point is, there's an expectation that the world is not going to be satisfied with whatever you feel like throwing out there. But within the confines of a long-term romantic relationship, the criticism issue is one of saying, essentially, I don't like the way you're being you. If it persists over a long period of time, if it becomes a habit of critique, then you are saying to the other person, essentially, you consistently be you wrong. And nobody wants to believe that they're with somebody who feels that way about them ultimately.
Yes.
And the more critical a person is of their partner, the more they shut their partner down into not being reflexively themselves, but some altered version of it. For example, when I was in a relationship receiving a lot of criticism from a person with borderline personality disorder, I basically stopped talking. I stopped making jokes. I stopped making observations because she'd take those opportunities to critique. Let's look at the next of these behaviors. So again, the key takeaway here is criticism in a romantic relationship is different than criticism in other contexts.
Two, contempt. How is contempt different from criticism?
So, whereas criticism might be maybe legitimate or not, depending. If I am upset because you keep using my bong and then leaving it someplace where I can't find it, and I eventually say, Rachel, you got to stop doing this. This isn't cool or whatever. Then that's a critique, and it's legitimate in some sense. But contempt is never legitimate because it's saying, I basically don't respect you or value you or think you have worth as a person. Whereas criticism is about behaviors or words, contempt is about the person themselves. Eye rolling is an example of contemptuous behavior. Humiliating your partner in front of other people is an example of contemptuous behavior. Um, Dismissing your partner's words and thoughts and or feelings as like, here we go again, like that kind of shit, that's contempt. And so obviously if you're expressing contempt for your partner, you're saying it, I'm not critiquing how you're being you, I'm critiquing you. You can't be you well because you're fundamentally bad and wrong. So obviously, no healthy, loving relationship can persist in the face of contempt. But again, it's something that you tend to get from very traumatized people, BPD people who have attachment disorder. They're going to display all four of these behaviors probably. But you may get a little bit of it in even in a healthy relationship. Certainly with my second wife, I got a fair amount of criticism and a certain amount of contempt, even though she was not traumatized and it wasn't a fundamentally toxic relationship in the way that my follow-up relationship with a BPD person was.
Yeah, and I also have been in past relationships where I was the person who was showing contempt because ultimately I just wasn't happy in the relationship. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's difficult in general when we're not with the right person to say the problem is I continue to be with this person.
Yeah.
we're more likely to say the problem is this person isn't being a good team player and being more like I want them to be.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a pipe dream, right?
It is. Defensiveness, number 3.
Kind of the flip side of criticism. Thing is, while it's not good to criticize your partner, if a partner does have a legitimate critique, it's important to listen to them and take their critique seriously, regardless of whether you think it's justified adequately by some other metric that you prioritize. Being defensive means essentially deflecting away any legitimate attempts to communicate about where you might have an issue, or the other person does. So, if I'm defensive about a given, if my partner is saying, "Look, I really don't like the way that you meow 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 meow," and I say, "Oh, you're just being too sensitive," or I say, "Well, you don't like the way I do that. Well, how about what you do?" Then I'm not being willing to listen to an honest critique. So that's just as toxic as being too insistent on making critiques all the time. And it's just another form of a failure to communicate adequately, ultimately.
Yes. And this can happen with romantic relationships and familial and friends too. Sometimes even in the workspace.
Right. There's a general tendency of some parties to conflate critique of what's being said or done as critique of the person, and that will tend to correlate strongly with defensiveness. Okay, let's look at the fourth and final of these behaviors.
Stonewalling. So, what is stonewalling exactly?
It's basically a refusal to communicate rather than an attempt to push back. Whereas defensiveness is an attempt to push back against any accountability by you. Stonewalling is an attempt to avoid any discussion of the matter entirely. And stonewalling can be especially toxic to a relationship because it's telling your partner, I don't think that this problem can be resolved, or I don't care about resolving it. And it's also telling your partner, I don't care if you're in distress. Because if you're like me, if there's a problem between me and my partner, there's a fight or something, I'm a big believer in I need to resolve that right now. I don't want to sweep it under the rug. I don't want to wait until later. And the thing is, what this Gottman fellow says is that it's fine to take a 10 to 20 minute long cool down period before coming back and discussing it. But longer than that really isn't acceptable. If it's absolutely necessary, the person who insists that it is necessary to wait longer, and that should set a very specific time to follow up and have that conversation. Because the fact is, for somebody like me anyway, if I don't have emotional resolution on a rift between me and my partner, I'm not going to be able to be comfortable doing anything or being anything at all until it's resolved.
It's true. I mean, I definitely am a person who may need a cool down, just because sometimes my emotions or scatter my thoughts. But I definitely, if we're not having a resolution over a conflict, then I am not going to be in a stable set of mind. Like, I know I get obsessive, and I, just constantly think about like what I did wrong. It's continually on my mind because it's not being resolved. So, stonewalling really can suck the life out of a relationship because there's lack of consideration there.
Right. And it can suck life out of it, or it can be explosive.
Yeah.
When Kimberly would try to stonewall me, which was every single time I tried to talk to her about anything, it would get explosive because I don't tolerate not being listened to and responded to on point very well. I spent the entire relationship saying, work with me, not against me, listen to me, hear my words, respond to what I'm saying, don't ignore me, stop running away from me, have this conversation.
Yeah.
It was torturous for me.
I would send multiple texts in a row, like, like let's, okay, there's a problem. Let's, like,
And that's indication right there of why it is so bad. It's because your partner's clearly in distress. They want to resolve this thing, and they have a need that's pressing them to continue coming to you and saying talk, 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 and the other person is saying, I don't care how distressed you are right now. I don't care how emotionally, you know, wrought this makes you feel. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just not going to talk to you about it. And so it's in some sense the worst, in my opinion, kind of the worst form of contempt. So let's recap real quick what these things, how you can kind of evaluate these things as attentional unfairnesses. So if we go to the first one, criticism is basically an unfairness in the putting of information. It's always possible to find something to criticize about anybody. So it's a decision then whether you want to take that frame of reference with your partner or not. If you do, you're positioning yourself as the adjudicator of how they should be themselves, and that's fundamentally not good. So criticism is unfairness in putting of information. Contempt is unfairness in receiving of information. I'm not going to receive you as having any worth inherently. I'm going to receive you as, there we go again with your crazy nonsense and your stupid ways and blah, 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 blah. So whereas the first criticism is an action kind of unfairness, contempt is a receiving or knowledge kind of unfairness. And the third one, defensiveness, this is a form of getting information unfairness, which is to say, when somebody's providing information about you, you don't evaluate it on the same kind of metric as you do when you're providing information about other people. So it's a lack of reciprocity of evaluatory metrics here. So essentially this is a deliberative unfairness. And the first one, action unfairness, and the second one, knowledge unfairness, and the third one, deliberative unfairness. And then the fourth one, Stonewalling, is an interfacing unfairness, a refusal to engage dynamically with you about something. So anyway, these are basically 4 ways in which the kind of attentional manners, action, knowledge, deliberation, and interface, get expressed as toxic unfairness that kills love, kills relationships. And if you are with a partner who does any of these things, then you need to get out of that relationship.
Yeah, and that's for yourself too, So maybe you see this in yourself, and the truth is, it might be the beginning of the end of a relationship.
And it's not always indication that you're a toxic person.
Right.
Sometimes if you're in the wrong relationship with the wrong person, you end up developing a certain amount of contempt for them because there's so much fundamental conflict between your frames.
Yeah, and you might already be dealing with criticism and stonewalling, which develops into contempt. So,
I mean, it's the case that in my first marriage, I criticized quite a bit. And it's also the case that I displayed some contempt because I didn't have any concept of how other people's frames of reference could be so starkly different from my own. And, I was in the habit of saying things like, you need to stop using your emotions and stuff like that. But that was a long time ago. And the point is, the reason the bad behaviors came out was because of the fundamental deep incompatibility between the two of us. Right. Not because I'm a bad person or a toxic person. Not all instances of this emerge from BPD people or narcissists or whatever. We're all guilty of this sometimes. And it's a natural response to finding oneself persisting in an unacceptable reality for a long time.
And the thing is, too, if you realize that these are in you, or you're behaving this way, there's ways to learn to do the opposite. If you're aware of it, the eye rolling, don't take that take this information into your next relationship. And
the fact is, if in your current relationship these things are problems, almost for sure marriage counseling and saving that relationship is a bad idea. There's probably already too much water under the bridge. It's like Rachel and I are extremely careful with each other, but it doesn't mean that we don't still remember that one time that Mia said Mia, right? Even if it happened a long time ago, it's still there on the permanent record somehow. So it's important to start a relationship well and to not engage in any of these behaviors from the get-go, or else before you know it, you've got this pile of trash you have to deal with before you can even consider having a healthy relationship. You kind of got to get off to a good start, because if you're an SI type, you're not going to be able to let shit go very easily. Even NI types, I think, may have a lot of trouble letting shit go if it's significant.
Yes.
I mean, an NI Dom like Rachel is going to see certain kinds of things as representative of a fundamental incompatibility more quickly than an SI type like me will. And so, like, she stayed in her BPD relationship less long than I did. But, you know, that's what FI is all about as well. For people who have really good FI, they probably are much more successful at choosing. I don't know if that's true or not, though. Is it?
I don't know, but I think that these are definitely red flags in a relationship, and it's something to consider if if you see any of them.
Check yourself, check your partner, see. All right, thanks for watching. Thanks for keeping me on topic there, Rachel.
Yeah,
and enjoy your loving times with your beloved partner,
yes,
with plenty of hugs and kisses and positive words.